Good evening, everyone. Let me just, here we go. Hold on a second. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in person and also online. My name is Fabian. I'm the founder and CEO of HirePlanner.com. So I've been invited today to tell you a little bit about recruiting in Japan. So I will first give you a very quick self-introduction. So I've been in Japan for the past 25 years now. I'm from France, and I was raised for most of my childhood in Cameroon, which makes it an interesting background. But I'm now in Tokyo for quite some time. My background is in sales and marketing. I used to work for a startup, a job board called Career Cross. It's still a very popular job board to find bilinguals in Japan. And then went from sales into HR recruitment at Apple, where I was managing the recruiting operations for Apple in Japan and Korea. And I did the same thing at Tesla Motors in Japan. And after a few years in those great companies, I saw an opportunity. I wanted to create an HR recruitment platform that was really designed for the Japanese market. So I decided to go back to entrepreneurship and created my company about 8 years ago, Hire Planner. So we are not a recruiting agency. We're really solely focused on HR technology. And what we do is we help companies to build their teams in Japan by providing them with HR automation, AI, recruitment advertising, employer branding, and we also organize career events to help them get more visibility. Just to give you a quick overview, so we've got two roles here. You've got the first role is all about getting exposure and bringing talent, like funneling the talent towards your organization. So we provide all kinds of tools such as a bilingual career website in English, Japanese. We help with SEO optimization. We provide job advertising on multiple job sites in Japan. We have agency management system as well. It's quite popular to collaborate with recruiting agencies in Japan. And we organize events and we create employer branding content as well. So again, everything except headhunting, really. And on the second row, it's all about the actual process, how to digitalize, simplify, and optimize your internal hiring and try to be as efficient as possible. So that's kind of what we do. But enough about us. Today I'm planning to talk to you a little bit about, I know we started a little bit late, but I'll try to cover as much as I can. I'm planning to talk to you a little bit about the Japan labor market and also the different challenges that you can expect when recruiting in Japan. Share some best practice as well and creative ways to source and also attract talent. And also tell you a little bit more about our upcoming recruiting event. Okay, so first of all, I'll start with all the challenges and negative information first, and then we'll keep the positive solutions a little bit at the end, right? So by the way, can I ask, is there anyone who is an entrepreneur in the room? Okay. Recruiter? Anyone involved in recruiting or HR? Okay. Okay, good. It helps me to kind of adjust the information I'm going to share with you today. So first of all is the Japan labor force. As if you've been in Japan for quite some time, you must know that it's going down. In the past 3 years, Japan labor force actually lost 2 million people. It's really, really high. The working population has gone down by 15% since 1995. And that's due to the aging population, as you can see on this graph, and also the birth rate, which is like 1.2 children per woman. And every year we are breaking new lows. Also, we have another challenge in Japan is the actual volume and percentage of bilingual speakers, or I should say English speakers, at least fluent level, which is below 5%. It's really hard to find an accurate figure for this because, as you may know, like Japanese people are usually very humble, so they will actually rate themselves a little bit lower than they are, but still the percentage is fairly low in general. So that's a big challenge, especially for international global firms and startups who wants to come to Japan. Labor shortage is expected to keep increasing, and it's going to be multiplied by 2 by 2035 with just under 4 million people. So that's for the bad news. And now I'll share a few more challenges. Japan, if you don't know, Japan for the past 10 years has been ranking #1 for as the most challenging country to do recruiting in. You can see in the middle the average, and Japan is on the extreme left here. Also, the number of bankruptcies caused by labor shortage last year has increased by 32%. Right, so there's a total of 342 companies that actually went bankrupt because they couldn't attract the necessary staff. So that's again another big challenge. Okay, so here I'll go over this very quickly. Everybody knows, I think, right now that the cost of recruitment is very expensive in Japan. Agencies represent really the biggest chunk where fees can go up to, well, now easily 35, 40, and sometimes I heard even 50% of somebody's annual salary. Obviously, it is normal because it's so hard to find them, so that's why the agency fees has been increasing over the last few years. And all the other costs as well, advertising costs, the fact that it takes more time to hire as well, it is considered an opportunity loss. So there's a cost behind that. Salaries needs to be increased because again, by the way, if anybody wants copies of slides or things like that, please come after this and I can come and send it to you. So we do have also to take into consideration the attrition, like bilinguals are very popular, so therefore they get offered jobs more frequently, and then they have a tendency to change jobs as well more often. So we need to take that into account. Okay, a couple of other things, again, related to recruitment, it's to help understand the market we're dealing with so that we can adapt our approach while recruiting. So the first thing is, it is very much a group-oriented culture. Harmony is really, harmony within the group is the essence really of Japanese culture. So you have to think it's more about a follower culture. And that's why it takes a little bit more time for people to make decisions. So job seekers take more time to change jobs. They have to consult with other people. And also the business as well sometimes needs to ask colleagues and need to make a decision as a team. So everything takes more time. Japan is risk averse. If you are a large organization, you will have a big advantage because you will come across as a stable, established, and also secure, right? So if you're a startup, obviously it is a bit more tricky because you represent risk. Unless you're backed up by a VC and you have some investment, then you'll have a better chance than if you are a startup which is self-funded like mine. Okay. Another thing as well is if you're coming from overseas, you may be tempted to attract people with stock, RSUs, equity, and things like that. But unfortunately, the local market tends to prefer just salary-based, anything that's guaranteed, right? So, but you may have more chance. You may use RSU, stock, and equity for maybe foreign talent. That might be another option. Okay. HR recruiting professionals. This is my personal take. I would say if you're a company that comes to Japan and starts to hire, when you hire your HR person or your HR recruiter, make sure that they have multiple skills because a lot of HR, how do you say, HR for a very long time has been very traditional function of the business. It's very administrative heavy. So the term HRBP is still very new here. It's getting there, but still you may want to hire an HR person. So make sure that they actually qualify as an HRBP, an HR business partner. They should have experience working with the business. They should have experience recruiting, sourcing. They should have business acumen and all those type of things. If they are more on the admin side, be careful, because they will actually rely a lot on agencies. They will rely on a lot of external vendors and suppliers, which will cost your business a lot of time and money. So please be careful with that one. Finding leaders. Finding leaders is a lot of companies I speak to always tell me like, oh, it's really difficult to find leaders in Japan. I don't really agree. I think that there's lots of great leaders in Japan. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is just the approach and the culture is different. Foreign leaders, the idea of foreign leadership is a little bit more aggressive. It's a little bit more me approach, and then everybody follows. Whereas in Japan, I see it more as a chief orchestra, where the leader is responsible to maintain the harmony between the team and go together, make decisions together. So it's actually a lot more complex, and it's a we approach, right? Again, going back to what we were saying earlier about the culture of followers, right? So the difficult part about for foreign companies to find a leader in Japan is really to find somebody who can actually handle both sides, right? Really communicate and understand the foreign way, and also being able to execute in the Japanese way. And that's really the challenge. Okay, another quick thing, modesty. This is from experience in my past US companies that I worked for. Modesty, don't think that humility means lack of expertise or lack of skills. A lot of Japanese people are always very humble about, they're never going to brag about what they've done, their accomplishment. So you really have to see through that modesty, right? Because you have a lot of capable people out there that are just humble. Same as well, being calm, being composed, being zen doesn't mean you have a lack of passion. I know that a lot of European or American companies love to see some kind of passion and demonstrate it, but just the Japanese way is not going to give you that. They express passion in a very different way. And then again, it's just from personal experience. Some people might disagree, but employment laws, I'll make it very quick. It's just hard to let go of people and terminate. So that's another reason why they take more time, because they want to make sure they get it right. They don't want to make a mistake. And same related to speed. It's a little bit related to all the points above. If you rush things, if you push things, you might have the silence treatment in Japan. People will just say yes and smile and be like, yes, but they will just, nothing's gonna get done. If you don't involve them, if you don't make them part of the process, if you push things, it will just, nothing's gonna happen again. Yeah, so keep that. It's really like more like cultural information when you come, especially from overseas, or when you have a business that you're trying to launch in Japan. Okay, so now that we talked about all the challenges, let's talk a little bit about the positive things here and the recruiting opportunities and best practice. So the first thing is, that's my number one. I think there's tremendous opportunity on this type of talent, female talent. When you think about it, it's kind of crazy to imagine that we have nearly half of women are available in the market and not actually working. And it's not because they don't want to work. They actually want to work, but so many companies are just not hiring them because they are very rigid in the type of contracts they want and how they want them to work. So I still think that, yeah, it's a very unutilized workforce here, and you have so many qualified, creative and proactive talent in this category. If you just show a little bit more flexibility, flexible work hours, and just try to support as much as possible the personal side. So I really think that if any company has to choose one, I would definitely choose this one. Another opportunity is obviously the foreign talent. Just do the math. I mean, labor workforce, plumbing, aging population, less babies. How is Japan is going to deal with this? There's not much choice unless they have, well, they do invest in AI and technology, but the reality is they need a lot of foreigners to come and help out. So this is going to be really big. And you can see in the last 15 years, the number of foreigners in the workforce has been multiplied by 4, right? So now we are a total of 3% of the working population. And also it's expected to double by the year 2035, right? So we'll be just under 4 million for the number of foreigners working. So it's been, the government has helped. More foreigners also speak Japanese as well. So you have they don't always find a job, but you do have a lot of foreigners that speak Japanese, so you should definitely try to consider them. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to keep track of time. We have young talent, not many, less and less actually, but more and more companies are actually trying to invest in initiative into hiring, like having a new grads program. 69% of companies have expressed last year that they are increasing their investment to attract this type of talent. I think it's really good if you can bring some new grads, obviously, but you have to keep in mind it's best if you have time or a training program in place to really set them up for success. A startup, it's always kind of 50-50 because startup has less resources, less manpower. So if you don't have the time or the training that you can provide them, you might not set them up for success as easily as a big corporation would do. Okay. Older talent, I don't really like to use that term, but senior citizen. We have about now 8 million people are in Japan, and that's a total of 12% of the entire workforce. So more and more companies, I think it was 59% of companies have actually increased their retirement age from 60 to 65 and 70. And also they're organizing some programs for rehiring retired employees. So one thing to keep in mind is that the technique that some companies have is to cut the salaries of the people that they rehire. So I really think that if you are a company that's offering fair market value and fair salaries, you can actually attract a lot of qualified people in this category to join your organization, because if you pay them fair, of course, they will be happy to join you. Okay? All right. And I'll skip this part real quick. So obviously training, and of course we need the opportunities is to invest into tech and tools to make sure that the team, whoever you actually hire, has the best possible tools to be as efficient as it can be. And going back to flexibility and trust so that you can just bring people on board. Okay. Now how to attract talent? Right, that's the big question now. That's the how. I'm going to answer this in 2 words. Employer branding, right? So employer branding, let me share with you my vision of what employer branding is, so that you can better understand. So there's 5 key pillars, right? And if you think employer branding, recruiting is part of that, right? The first thing you need is, and I'm sorry it's a little bit wordy, this slide, but the key is, again, to have the right tech, the right tools for Japan, okay? Not for global, because some of those global tools are very useful for maybe in-house, but they don't actually make it easier for other stakeholders in Japan, right? So for example, if you're in recruiting in Japan and you use a global system, it's easy, it's useful internally, but it doesn't help the candidates, it doesn't help the agencies, it doesn't help anybody else who is from the outside. So you need to think about this when you pick up your tools and your tech. It needs to be making the work and life easier for every stakeholders in the process if you want to make it easy for people to come to you, right? So yeah, it's all about those things here. So once you have the right tech and data, and you can offer reporting, and you can track and organize your information and secure it, you need to think about the right content, right? And the right content, I'm very big on this, and sometimes I have spent a lot of time explaining this to some companies. It has to be, you need to have a very unique approach to creating your content. It needs to be strategic first. Of course, it's going to be informative. It's going to be inspiring, because this is all the kind of information that candidates will read. But the big thing is strategic, because at the end of the day, you need to be found. You need to think, how is your candidate going to find my information, my website, my job, anything like this, right? So, and yeah, you need to improve your SEO and your AI discoverability, not in Google, but also on ChatGPT now. You really have to think like this, and you have to create your footprint, your content footprint on your website, so that it's all helping you afterwards. When you come up with your content, you need to think about the things that candidates are interested in, or not what you want to show about your company. It's not about your company. It's really about the candidates. This is a candidate market, so you have to create content that attracts job seekers and potential employees. So we have here, of course, compensation. Compensation is number one, I would say. Career growth, education, so anything that will give the opportunity to develop to your employees. Team and atmosphere, brand image and reputation, and the sense of purpose is becoming actually bigger and bigger in this day and age. So make sure that all your content covers all those 5 key points. And yeah, and it's really, I invest time and money to create a good content. You don't need to do everything overnight. It needs to be something that's done gradually. This is the only thing that will help for your footprint. Now, in terms of media, this is actually something not unique for Japan. You could use the same approach for global as well, but really identify the best channels in your market, right? Think about, okay, what's the market? What kind of audience am I interested in, and what kind of talent I'm aiming to recruit, and really try to show that content you prepared into those media channels, okay? And the 4th point is the right event and the right engagement. So I always try to compare this to, with this point, I always try to give you the example of, imagine a music band, right? Imagine your company is like a music band. When you create a song, it's like creating a job posting. You have to, publish it. You have to put it online for streaming or on sale, but the reality is, if you want to promote your art, if you want to promote your song, you have to go touring, right? If you don't do any live shows, nobody's going to know about your company. Nobody's going to be knowing about your opportunities. So that's another reason why I was saying earlier, the HR recruiting job is evolving, and we need more and more skills, right? Because I was going to say we need singers. No, but we need people that go touring and who are comfortable to actually vote and present and promote the company, more like a brand ambassador. Okay, so yeah, so there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can join or create your own community. If you have communities that exist, join them. It's really important to network. If you don't have them, you can create them yourself over time. You can organize open house events for new grads hiring, or you can organize panel discussions, those kind of seminars for more like mid-career type of target. And the last point is create the right team, right? So it's all related. All those things are important earlier, but this is the biggest one, where you need the right team. You need a team that has a lot of different skills and experience. And you can see it's a lot more than just admin here, right? So we need recruiting, sourcing experience. You need to be tech savvy. You need to be organized. You need to be comfortable doing public speaking. And you need to have a kind of a sales mindset, right? Sales experience, if you want to be into this. Yeah. Okay. And more important nowadays as well, you need to have a marketing brain as well. You need to have a good understanding of what employer branding is. Creation of content is something that should be on your to-do list. Like, you need to be comfortable showing yourself and being on social media to attract talent to your company. Yeah, personally, it really frustrates me every time I hear some HR recruiting team that's just really shy and don't want to be out there. It's not, yeah, they have to lead by example. Okay, so just to recap, right tech, right content, right media, right events, right team. And the key is recruit all the time, right? So I'll share with you this. This is what a recruiter, how do you say, a reactive recruiter looks like. By this I mean, imagine somebody leaves the company and you have to say, oh my God, I have to start finding somebody. It's like fitness. If you haven't trained for months and you're like, oh my God, I have a triathlon to do in a few months, like, it's going to take you 3-4 months to get back in shape, right? It's the same for recruiting. If you do it all the time, you can do any race, any weekends, you can really recruit efficiently and really fast. But if you don't, yeah. So this is what a proactive recruiter looks like. Okay. And now I also, some people might think as well, like, okay, employer branding sounds really overwhelming. This sounds like we have to work on so many different things now to attract talent. So think about it as this, right? Employer branding is like this bridge with wooden plank trying to cross the river. And the other side of the river is your company. And the candidate has to go through that bridge. Each wooden plank represents a step in the recruiting process. So you have the job posting, you have blog articles, you have videos, you have interviews, you have the website, you have even the first interview is an experience, right, in itself. So the follow-up, every single wooden plank represents a step in the recruiting process. So you can imagine that if you're missing some wooden planks, the talent will fall through and they'll go somewhere else, right? But the key is you're not going to be able to build a really nice, beautiful, stable bridge overnight. It just takes time, but just focus on doing one thing at a time. Like sometimes like, okay, we're gonna work on a really nice piece of content here and it's gonna be a footprint that stays online and that people can refer to in the future, right? So just one win at a time. And by the time you're done, you'll have a nice bridge like this and a solid employer brand, right? So this is okay. So that's kind of and if you want to make the first step, so first step, I'll take just a minute to tell you a little bit about a project we're putting together with Venture Cafe and also CIC Tokyo. So we have coming up on the February 25th, so in about 5 weeks, it will be happening at CIC. It's going to be the Tech Meetup in Japan career event. We've been working with Venture Cafe for quite some time, and we've been wanting to create something special, not just the traditional career event, so no resume exchange. It's really about building connections. We wanted to create an experience where you can have access to career opportunities, but also business network opportunities. And finally, we want people to come back and say they've learned something, they've been, they've been inspired by some of the people they've met, and all this into a really nice and warm and welcoming atmosphere. So for those of you who are not lucky to be here today, this is what the venue is going to look like. We're going to have some really nice networking space. We'll have food and drinks. And also we'll have this very room here for companies to do presentation and panel discussions and things like that. And that will be very focused on, that will be the target audience for this particular event is going to be very tech oriented. So any companies that are in the tech sector or how do you say, people or companies looking for tech professionals, they are welcome to join us. All right. And any companies who is interested in participating in this upcoming event will have the following benefits. So they'll have the opportunity to have a 5-minute presentation to the audience. It will be recorded as well. So if you want to use this video as employer branding, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to reuse it. You'll have access to the networking space. We'll promote your logo, your QR code linking to your jobs. You'll have also job advertising for 1 year on Hire Planner and all our partner sites. and we'll feature you on some of our social media content, and also a feature we're going to be writing about tech companies hiring in Japan. So yeah, so that's it. So if you are interested, please let me know after this. You can connect me on LinkedIn, or you can just have a chat with me after this. Yeah. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, maybe some of you are a bit shy. So if you have some questions, please come and talk to me after. Right? Thank you. Thanks again.